Mhm. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Swami, Om Swami, Om Swami. So far we've discussed a couple of very important things. One, our true nature is Sat, Chit, and Anand. Truth, existence, bliss. So let's first dissect these three words. Truth, authentic living. We don't want to become better people. We want to become more authentic. How we are within, that's how we are without. There's no pretense and there's no covering. So that's our true nature. So however we are within, we portray ourselves without any pretense. If what we are within doesn't give us peace, then we work on what's within us. Instead of changing the superficial behavior, we go to the deeper level and we change the way our being is. But we are authentic, we are truthful. Because only if we are truthful, saying, this is how I feel within, but this is how I'm projecting myself outside, there is a mismatch. There is lack of integrity right there. Because let's say I'm feeling jealous inside, but I'm portraying all hunky dory, then there is a mismatch. Only when we accept how I feel within, I'm able to say, okay, this particular feeling within me is creating imbalance, is taking away my peace. So let me work on that. That's truth. Sat, Chit, existence. Wherever we are, whichever time of the day, we are always the same. The inside. We are moving towards that state of equanimity, that we are always existing as pretty much the same. There is a constant, like we talked about the ocean and the deep ocean, the waves on top and the deep ocean. No matter what keeps happening up top, the deep ocean remains still. I don't even want to use the word still. A certain sense of equanimity, saying it's okay. And we also recognize the cycle of samsara. The things keep happening in a cyclical manner. Today, I might feel upset over something. Similar situations might happen again next week. And if I get exactly similar amount of sadness and, same amount of being upset, then I haven't learned from what happened this week. If I picked up what happened this week, okay, so this occurrence happened and it disturbed me this much. But that occurrence eventually went away because everything happens in a cyclical manner. What's there to get so bogged up about? And again, next week it might happen again, or the next to next week or next month. So when it happens again next month, I will remind myself, remember it happened last time and it went away. What's the big deal? This too shall pass. So recognizing that everything happens in a cyclical manner, we keep moving towards equanimity, existence, Sat, Chit, and then Anand. And that is a state we eventually end up in, which is blissful. because we understand all occurrences happening around us, even within us, happen in a cyclical manner. Today, I might feel sad about something. In a few days, that sadness will go away. I'll be back to being happy again. And it's okay. So every time we are down, if we reflect on the impermanence, on the cyclical nature of samsara, it will start to bring us a certain amount of equanimity. If we start living more authentic, rather than being better people, we start living more authentic. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? Then we start moving towards our true nature, which is bliss, which is Divine Mother's name, Lalita, the playful one. Knowing that it's all a play, we start being in bliss, a certain sense of surrender, a certain sense of trust in the operations of nature naturally start emerging. But they happen when we mindfully observe the low times of our lives and sometimes reflect back into the past to see, wait, this happened sometime in the past too. No big deal. It will pass. And then we also talked about all grief starts with a conditioned belief, a limiting view of ourselves and the world. As the plane takes off, as it's on the runway, you can see around the airport, the crew, other planes. As the plane starts taking off higher and higher, the same airport, the same crew, other planes on the ground, they start looking smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then as you keep going higher, eventually everything starts looking so small. And then you go above the clouds. And then it's smooth sailing. Below the clouds, it could be raining, it could be overcast, but above the clouds, it's nice and sunny. So as our perspective keeps increasing, because misery, first it starts with me. There's a certain reason why misery starts with me, because the belief or the view is limiting. So that's what was happening with Arjun in Vishad Yoga. He was just talking out of his conditioned beliefs, his limited view of himself and the world. Lord Krishna is now trying to give him gyan so that he may take off. He may increase his, he may broaden his perspective. Because as that plane takes off, that big airport, the crew members, other planes, the city, everything becomes irrelevant, smaller and smaller, and eventually disappears. So nothing will change in our lives. The world will be the same, the people around us, everything. But our perspective would have broadened so much. And that's the Zen saying, the path of no path, the perspective of having no perspective. Because the mind doesn't know the present moment. It has no contribution in the present moment because it really doesn't know. It is made up of memories. It can tell you all that happened in the past and how this next moment might open up. It can project into the future, saying, oh, last week it happened that way. Next week it's going to happen that way. Every day we go to work, the road remains the same, but the journey is different every day. But the mind says, oh, it's the same. So the whole point of this Bhagavad Gita discussion is so we broaden our perspective every single session, every single day, every single moment. Misery and grief starts with conditioned beliefs and limited views. The broader our perspective, the less grief we will experience, more equanimous we will be, more accepting we will be of ourselves and of the world, more authentic we will be to what's happening within us. And that will eventually lead us to being more blissful. So that's the journey of really ripening our inside to align with our true nature of Sat Chit Anand. Once we are blissful, right? Once we are blissful, remember we talked about how the world will not change, people will not change, but our perspective would have changed forever. And that's transformation. When we bring changes at the level of the body, at the level of the thoughts, at the level of the feelings, it's a change. It can go back. But when we bring a transformation at the level of the being, our actions change, our thoughts change, our emotions, our feelings change. And that change is irreversible because now that's not change anymore, that's a transformation. So the whole point we talked about last time, the reflections, 3 times a day, was to continuously see if I'm walking towards being more blissful or not. We all have to use our body to do actions. Even just to sit, we have to use our body. We all have to use our mind to think thoughts. We all have to use our emotions to feel feelings. There is the body, there is the mind, there is the heart. There's no denying that all of us have the three. Now, everyone is unique in their composition. Divine Mother has created this beautifully, so everyone is unique. Some people are more mushy and feely. Some people are great thinkers. Their mind cannot come to rest. It continuously wants to think. They're very intellectual. Some people are very hardworking. They can work all day, almost all night, without getting tired. So then there is mixture. Some people can work and are mushy feely. Some people are thinkers and can work. Everyone, is in different proportion. So it's something we have to do is to first understand, what is my composition? Am I a touchy-feely person? Am I a thinker? Or am I a hard worker? Or I like hard work and thinking. Or I like thinking and, I'm overpowered by emotions. What is my composition? Because once we identify that, then Lord Krishna, out of his great mercy, said, identify yourself first. Are you touchy-feely? Are you a thinker? Or are you a hard worker? If you are a hard worker, then you connect with me through your work. And that's yoga. Yoga is to connect with the divine or the seer or the witness within or the Shiva within. You connect with me through your work. If you say, no, I'm an intellectual, I like to think, no problem. Connect with me through Jnana Yoga. If you say, no, I'm a very touchy-feely person, I'm very mushy, connect with me through devotion. But let's say majority of your day is at work, connect with me through your work. If majority of your day is thinking, connect with me through. He gives us these 3 options, saying you pick, and you don't have to necessarily pick just one path. You can mix and match. The goal is to connect with me. Why? Not for my sake, for your sake. We want you to be blissful. Lord Krishna says, I want you to be blissful. I want you to, as you are moving about in the world, when you work, I want that work to be so fulfilling for you that you derive bliss out of it. If you are going to use your mind and think, I want you to use the power, the thinking power, to connect to me. And if you're all mushy inside, I want you to feel that love and devotion towards me and connect with me and be blissful. So there was a story I narrated recently at a conference, and I will narrate it again. Um, a great, beautiful chapel was being built. Let's say a temple was being built, and there were construction workers breaking rocks. So this one person goes and asks one question to three people. What is your idea or opinion about the kind of work you do? The first person he talks to, he says, it is great misfortune that I have to come here in this heat all day and break rocks. I hate my life. I go home tired. As soon as I go home, I go to sleep. Right? The next guy he talks to, he says, hey, what is your opinion about the kind of work you do? He says, well, it pays my bills. It puts bread on the table. Yeah, it's really hot. I really get tired. I go home and then I basically spend a little time with my family, but I'm very tired. And by the time it's time to go to bed, I just go to bed and I don't have any opinion. I'm neutral about it. It pays my bills. The third person he talks to, hey, what is your opinion about the kind of work you do? He says, this temple is being built here. It's going to stand here for at least the next 100 years. And guess what? I have been chosen to be a part of history. So I come here with great joy that I'm a part of this history. Although all I do is break rocks every day. That's all I do. These big rocks, I break it into two. And then the sculptor takes the rock and does his thing. My job is to just break this big rock into two. But I love it because I'm part of history. And then even Swamiji, I think in one of the Walk the Dragon sessions, I think he talked about how a janitor was asked by JF Kennedy, hey, what are you up to at NASA? And he says, I'm putting a man on the moon. And he was just cleaning the floors. But he was involved saying, I'm working here to put a man on the moon. So here we see three attitudes towards work. I hate my job. I hate my life. First attitude. Second, I do it because it pays my bills. No big deal. I feel neutral about it. And the third is, I derive great joy from my work. I feel like I'm contributing. Mind you, this person was just breaking a big rock into two pieces. He was not creating beautiful sculptures out of it. But he derived great joy. Now the question arises, what or how can such a profound change come in a person so that they'd start deriving great joy from their work? And that's where Swamiji talks about devotional service. And that's a state of mind that comes slowly, gradually. When we start working on our inside, like I talked about Sat Chit Anand, when we start moving towards creating a blissful environment within, that bliss automatically starts pouring into our work. We start seeing our work, we start seeing our performance at work as strikingly different. It's the same work, nothing will change, but the performance, the efficiency, and the joy of work starts changing. The same 8-hour days that used to exhaust us now energize us. And then we start moving toward, then we realize it's like a deep transformation within that happens, saying, Everything I do it for you. It's my service. Whether I'm talking to people, whether I'm at work, this gradual transformation starts happening within, saying, yes, truly, this is my service. You feel so grateful, so blissful within, that work starts happening as service. There are two ways to go about it. One, we can do it more superficially, saying, okay, I read some scripture today, or I attended a satsang today. Let me start working with a sense of service. That will only last maybe a few hours, maybe a day or two, maybe even a week. And then it'll fade away. That sense of service will fade away because it's not coming from within. It's not authentic. It's very superficial. Authentic is when we work towards changing the inside. Because the expression, then it doesn't matter. Then whether we are working, whether we are thinking, whether we are feeling, it all happens from that blissful within. That becomes our center. So the thinkers may have all kinds of intellectual thoughts and questions and views and perspectives. But eventually the thinker also reaches to a point wherein he or she realizes that the mind has zero contribution in the present moment. Whatever is going on in the mind, whatever it may be, however important it may be, in the present moment, it's irrelevant. So then we start using the mind as a tool in the present moment to discover the beauties of the world, to perform our actions, to perform our jobs, our conversations, or whatever it is that we are doing with more precision. Because the mind is not busy wandering around in memories. It is there for it to be used. So the mind always stays empty because the mind is filled with memories. And that's what Divine Mother's name in Lalita Sahasranam is, Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta. When all that, the chit, which is full of memories, is burnt completely and the mind becomes empty. Then she comes to do Devakarya Samudyata. Then her energy starts flowing for devotional service. Because mind is available now. Before it used to be lost in the memory lanes, sometimes feeling sad, sometimes feeling happy, sometimes reminiscing. So if we really want to understand Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga, first of all, we have to know which is our strength. And then we bank on our strength initially to be more blissful. We still perform the other two, but the majority of our blissfulness comes from that strength. And then we start deriving more and more blissfulness from that activity. That is our true strength. And once we start filling our inside with more and more bliss, then we start experimenting. Then we start superficially working towards bringing that in actions, in thinking. I can just share my own journey. I've been always a very touchy-feely, mushy person within, emotionally very dominated by emotions. So bhakti and love and devotion was my path. That's where I derived most of my joy, my inner bliss. I still had to work. I had to do a little bit of thinking. I'm not a big thinker. But then I invested my time in both. So we will eventually reach a stage wherein we realize no matter what's happening, It's service, it's seva, it's devotional service. So we first identify what's my predominant strength, and we derive most of our bliss from there. Or whatever little bliss we can extract. And we start looking at our work differently, gradually, slowly, without forcing, without any pretense. Remember, authentic living, acceptance, broadening our perspective, using our strength towards to walk towards blissfulness, filling more and more our inside with bliss so that other areas start experiencing that bliss that we have within. This requires self-reflection. Without self-reflection, this is just attending a feel-good session and then going back to where we were. It's really nobody's loss except for ours. Sri Krishna took all this time to explain to Arjuna because Arjuna expressed his grief, his misery in the first chapter. Slowly, he took him on that flight, high up, so high up. Eventually, Arjuna said, "Now I shall do what you asked me to do. Now all my moh is gone because I'm so high up, my perspective is so broadened. I shall do what you asked me to do." So a little bit of self-reflection. Just get in the habit of doing it a couple times a day. And this is a means to an end. It's not something we have to do all lifelong. Just a period of time. Maybe 6 days, 7 days, maybe 3 days. You will learn so much about yourself. Some amount of self-reflection, a lot of love. I was recently in India, looking around. Everywhere there's traffic, there's people. So many people, yet so much loneliness. It's like being in the middle of the ocean and wanting to feel water. Surrounded by a sea of people, yet people are extremely lonely. How? How did that happen? Because misery starts with me. So self-reflection combined with a bit of sense of belonging to others. Take up a small resolution, maybe for the next one day, 24 hours. Whoever comes in contact with me, I will accept them wholeheartedly, non-judgmentally, and give them a sense of belonging. Maybe I'll just pass on an honest compliment. Maybe I'll just smile deep from my heart. Maybe I'll look into their eyes. If it's a small child, maybe a small pat on the back. This love that we allow to flow outside, remember, it flows through us. It cannot flow without us being there. So it first fulfills us, then it goes to others. Every day we come across X number of people. At least we should try to touch the hearts of at least half those people. In India, I know it may be difficult because there's people everywhere. But every day, if we make some attempt to maybe listen to someone, maybe ask someone, how's everything? How are you feeling? Can I help? Can I be there in any which way? That will start changing our inside. And once that change starts happening, the attitude, the perspective towards work will change. The perspective towards our own thoughts will change. Our mind will become a real useful tool to perform so many things more efficiently. And our feelings, heart is the truest connection to divine. It connects, it's like the quickest, it's a shortcut. Because when the heart is activated, there's no ego. When you're overflowing with love, there's no ego. And you feel that connection. I'm actually contemplating doing a short series on a sense of belonging. My trip to India this time was deeply transforming and deeply spiritual, because I realized so many people, yet so much loneliness. You go sit in a temple and you tell God how lonely you feel. Like Swamiji says, the Vigraha is not going to talk to us. But if we all transform, and if someone comes to us saying, I feel lonely, we are in such a unique position to give them so much love, so much sense of belonging, that that loneliness will disappear. And when that fulfilled person meets another lonely person, they will be able to fulfill the other person's lives. And it can go off as a chain reaction. The planet needs healing. The planet needs love. The planet doesn't need more, I don't want to say religion, but, rigidity. It doesn't need that. It needs love. So that's all I have to say. Let's focus on some amount of self-reflection and a lot on giving a sense of belonging to others. And very soon, our inside would have truly become blissful, and it will start flowing in all of aspects, in our actions, in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our lives, in our families, friends. Be the change you want to be. Om Swami, Om Swami, Om Swami. Let's open up for other people to contribute, please.
Anu, I would like to add something to this. When this chapter 3 begins, Arjun is asking Bhagwan, you talked about Gyan and connecting with him through the pure knowledge. And now you're saying that you do your karma and connect with me through your karma. So he is again confused. And the state is because he has compartmentalized his brain. That when I'm doing karma, I'm just doing karma. It is not like that, because Bhagavan goes on to tell him that it all has to stem from a sense of nishtha. Nishtha is a word that appears in the second verse. So whether it is jnana nishtha or karma nishtha, it comes from that. And nishtha is nothing but a firm commitment to something that you believe in. So I was just looking up what Swami has said about it, because whether it is gyan or karma or sankhya, in any which path that you choose to follow, the aim and the end goal is the same. You are making a connection with your own pure satchit anand state of being. So when you continuously keep saying that no amount of doing is going to get you to the state of being, it doesn't stop there. It is only when you have stopped relying on the doing business to give you a state of being, and from that point you start doing, the action becomes an action of tyag, and action becomes a, a, a way of you not being part of the doership sentiment. You are no more having that karmic um, uh, trail that leads behind an action because of your attachment to the action. So I will like to read out a few uh, words that Swamiji has very beautifully written, and he has given the practice of letting go. Tyag is practice of letting go. When that happens, you are not bound with the action that you are doing. And no matter how attractive a flower, he says, a butterfly must eventually let go of it and move on. So Tyag means to give up, to renounce, to detach, to set yourself free from the attachment to an object. The practice of Tyag is a powerful one and the effect is profound. The practice is capable of igniting radical transformation in you. And it is with this practice that you can sustain and retain your state of bliss. It is not possible to renounce karma. One is always performing karma in the form of thoughts, action, or speech. And so long as one is in this body, it is impossible to give up activities completely. It is only when one is detached and unhitched towards the outcome, one is truly a renunciate. This hardly comes without effort, and it is not an automatic act. A fair bit of groundwork is required before one can acquire such a state of dispassion and abandonment. A fitting question at the present moment is, what is this groundwork? What exactly is my point of focus? Is what Swamiji is going to talk about in this particular post. And he says, like everything else, detachment can be learned. It is possible to learn to live in a detached fashion with the practice of Tyag. And it is easier said than done, because all you have to do is you have to follow a practice that he has outlined. I will share it in the group. And it is a practice, a tangible practice of letting go. He says he's going to segregate the practice into two parts. First is the letting go of physical objects. This will strengthen the mind. And the second is letting go of thoughts and emotion. So I personally feel that if we can dedicate a week of doing this practice consciously, the essence of this chapter will somewhere start infiltrating into us. And this will be, a emotional transformation in due course, is what Swamiji says. He has outlined the practice. It is consciously putting yourself in a let go mood, where the practice allows you to, pick any one thing that you decide to let go. It can be a thing, it can be an action, it can be a certain thought. And he says he has given a table, whether it is consumption, if you're trying to refrain from using something or an object, or you're trying to refrain from a certain thought or certain kind of speech, or it is a desire that you are consciously, continuously desiring, but you are now trying to abandon it with a certain sense of detachment, or you're contemplating on a certain object or thought which you want to refrain from, or it could also be certain random thoughts on any object of the during the day which you want to just let go of. So the complete practice of Tyag means abandoning consumption, desire, contemplation, and thoughts of the object of attachment. And in the line of framework that he has given, he has elaborated what Tyag means with an example. You can go through it when I share the link to this post. And then he goes on to say that when you let go, you gain freedom. It further leads you to a state of independence, peace, and fulfillment within. Ultimately, if you can let go of everything that gives you grief, every agonizing emotion, every discursive thought, you can well imagine your blissful state, I hope. Go on, learn to let go so that you may let yourself go free. So, to me, this entire chapter, to even be able to be in a state where you are in love and are capable of giving love to others, even before you reach that state, you have to do a lot of groundwork, as Swamiji says, an action in which a lot of doership is involved. ये मैंने किया और फिर उसने ऐसा कर दिया, ये मैंने किया. This मैं, like Anu said, ये me starts is the beginning point of misery. Misery all starts with me. ये मैं जब खत्म होगा तभी तो कुछ और होगा. So this letting go of karta bhav and to do your actions in a state of sacrifice because you are doing his work. Ramakrishna Paramhans used to say this very beautifully, that every act of his is mother's work. Sharda Ma used to say that, she used to tell all these women, you should consider your house as mother's house, your children, your husband, and your family as mother's children. When you are living and doing work in your house, you are serving mother. You are doing her work. With this, a lot of dispassion and detachment comes. You do your work with all the nishtha, with all the love, but you're not attached to that action and the fruits of that action. So here Bhagwan again tells Arjun that you have to do this for dharma. You are not doing this, you're not entering this war, you're not going about a venture that is going to end up in severe consequences because of your own vested interest. You are going to do it for the sake of upholding dharma. This sense of doership is what is killing Arjun. So that's what I have to share about my study and understanding of this bit of the chapter. And if anyone else wants to um, ask, say, or contribute, may please unmute yourself.
Any questions you can put in the chat.
So Anuji, you are in US?
Yes.
Oh, I thought this was from India. Oh, okay. Where in US?
Orlando, Florida.
Okay, okay. I'm in Detroit, Michigan.
Beautiful.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So the question is, I feel very empty and lost at times, as if I'm wasting time. Very, very good question. I'm glad you asked that. Um, you see, it's a deeply conditioned behavior that starts in childhood. As soon as and I do that to my kid also. If he's just sitting and relaxing, what are you doing? Why don't you do something productive? Why are you just sitting? And then the child feels like, okay, I better get to do something. Okay. Or why are you just watching TV? Why don't you get up and do something? Why are you wasting your time? Well, what's wrong in watching TV? I understand as a child, we need to direct the child to do what they're supposed to do. But playing is part of their life. So I had to kind of understand this own parental voice in me and tell myself, he's finished his homework. He's done what he's supposed to do. He's watching TV, he's relaxing, he's playing. Let him do it. It's okay. To relax and rest is not a crime. My own mom, I'm telling you, if she sees me sitting, even just recently I was in India, I visited, she's like, why are you just sitting? Why don't you just pack your stuff? I'm like, I still have 1 more week. And then she was like, okay. Literally a few seconds later, why are you just sitting there? Why don't you go do that? And then I would see her, and I'm like, okay, sit down, let's chat. She would sit for some time, and then she's like, okay, let me go make some chai. I said, for who? Papa will be back home. I should go make some chai. I said, when he comes, we'll make it. Relax. She relaxes for a few seconds, and then she's like, let me go start seeing what we need to make for dinner. I said, relax. It's just 6:30. We'll look at it at 7:30. Basically, sitting and relaxing is a crime. That's a conditioned behavior, conditioned belief. So to feel that, yes, I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my life, is not 100% true. See what you need to do. Once you're done with that, why dig for more work? If you're always in the doing, let me keep doing, and that's what I was talking to someone saying, don't make a to-do list. Because let's say you die the next moment, nature will respect your to-do list and bring you back as many times as need be so that you get your to-do list done. A very wise man once told me, there is nothing to be done and plenty of time to do it. There is nothing to be done and plenty of time to do it. So this feeling that I should be doing something is directly coming from a restless mind that has harbored and accepted the conditioned belief that you got to be doing something all the time. Once you are done with what you're supposed to do, and we all know what we are supposed to do, which is what Swadharma is. We'll talk about that next time. Swadharma is, you know what you need to do, just do it. Do it and then relax. The other thing this conditioned behavior belief does is it programs us to procrastinate. You see, we are all eternally free beings, right? Innately, we are free. We don't like to be told by anyone what needs to be done. So from childhood, the child is told, do this, go do homework, go do reading, do some tables, do some math, blah, 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 blah. That creates procrastination in them. Because they're like, no, I don't, inherently they feel like, no, I don't want to do it because you told me to do it, I'm not going to do it. This happens at a subconscious level because the child is free, it wants to be free, but it's caged by the parents' expectations. So it creates procrastination. So the child grows up, becomes an adult, and now procrastination is part of their child because the child was always told what to do. And it doesn't stop at the child level, even as adults. People are always telling us what to do. Do this, do that, do this, do that. But if you're left free, if you need to cook, you will cook. If you need to eat, you will eat. If you need to do this, you will do it. So understand two things. First, if there is procrastination in the work that you need to do, it's because of this. Second, the sooner you let go of that procrastination and the sooner you jump into whatever needs to be done, do it and then relax. Sometimes I get phone calls and people ask me, hey, what are you doing? I'm relaxing. What do you mean? You have no work to do? No, I'm relaxing. Whatever I needed to do, I did it. I'm relaxing now. So you feel empty because you are carrying on the expectation of others that you ought to be doing something. And no, you're not wasting time. Whatever needs to be done, do it. Understand the procrastination is a conditioned behavior that has been taught to you by the society by constantly telling you what to do. I hope that helps. How can I learn something which I have been trying to study for a long period of time? A subject, for example, programming. I'm not enjoying studying it because every time I try a problem, I have to look at the solution. So how can I improve it, or should I leave it? How will I improve my concentration? I can tell you from my own experience. When I went to dental school, we had like 5-6 subjects, right? One of the subjects was dental materials. It was like living in hell. It was the most boring subject. And we heard from our seniors and everyone that it's the worst. People fail in that because it's very boring. You just have to learn about materials. And then I told myself, then I started telling others, I love dental materials. I love dental materials. Oh my God, that's my favorite subject. People were like, are you crazy? I was telling them, I really do. I really do love dental materials. Remember, this was all a pretense. But on a lighter note, it's not a lie if you believe it. I believed, oh my God, dental materials is my favorite because I knew the other subjects I can crack. I can easily get to the pinnacle of the other subjects, but this was going to be my challenge. So I started telling myself and others, and I actually started believing, oh my God, I love dental materials. And then, believe it or not, I excelled in it. I got so good at it, I started teaching it to my own classmates. So don't underestimate the power of programming your subconscious mind. And we talked about that in past few sessions, that conscious mind, you just say it once and okay, whatever. Oh, I love dental materials. You say it once. It's the conscious mind phenomena. But you say it repeatedly. You believe it. You feel it. Every time you have to sit down to study, you first pick dental materials because that's your favorite subject. And now it's becoming part of subconscious programming. And now whenever people talk dental materials, you're like, man, that's my favorite subject. So now from conscious mind, consciously, mindfully, you have made it a subconscious behavior. Try it for a few days. You will start viewing it differently. Mind is foolish. Whatever you feed it, it will spit it back at you. You keep saying, I love programming. Oh my God, I'm going to be the greatest programmer. That's my life. I can't get over it. Whether I'm eating, drinking, all I think about is programming. Start saying it, slowly start feeling it, start acting in that way, start believing it. Before you know it, you'll be a champion. Next question. Yeah, affirmations. You can say affirmations, but as you see, the affirmations remain conscious mind phenomena if you don't put it into action. So you take an affirmation and, as I said, you put your body, mind, and your heart into that affirmation and you make it your own. And I don't like to do that with too many things. I do this only for the sake of studying or learning something new. I have a practice and there is a business aspect to the practice. There are some numbers, there's accounts and everything, which I'm clueless about. And my husband manages. But I told myself, okay, I'm going to start loving this. And this is what I did. I said, I love this accounting part. I love this financial part. I'm going to look at it. I love it. I love it. And then I got into it. So I don't do it for everything. I don't do it for things that can create deep impressions in my subconscious. I'm very careful what I choose, what affirmation I choose. I do it for this mundane stuff where there is resistance. Wherever there is resistance, I use an affirmation. Next question. I also felt if you see animal species other than human, the only purpose is survival. So eating and saving themselves. It's because of our restless mind we need to do something. Yes. No child is born with a mind. That's why they are in samadhi. Then the mind is given to them by their parents and the societies. Kuch kar lo, do something, be productive, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's that. Anyone else wants to add to these two things? Please. Okay, so should we end the meeting? Okay, all right. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Om Swami Om Swami Om Swami.